everybody, I'm Anna.
And I'm Michelle.
And we're the two mythical unicorns. And today we're talking about our favorite books that we read during 2019.
Yeah.
Because not all of these books are from 2019.
I'm fairly certain none of mine are from 2019. Just saying.
I have a few, but majority is not from 2019.
So yeah, that's just a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Most of these books are not published in 2019.
No. Okay, so did you just write your top 10 or did you list it?
I just wrote.
Yeah.
I know my favorite one that
Yeah.
I've read, but the rest of them, there's no particular order.
Okay. Yeah. I've tried to put them in order.
Right.
Did my best to put them in order. Though my last two were they were equally good.
Fair,
I would say. Yeah. So on my 10th place, The Book of M by Peng Shepherd.
Oh yeah.
And it's from 2018, I think, if I remember it correctly. And it's about like people start losing their shadows, and when they lose their shadow, they slowly lose their memory. And it's about people in this world.
Yes.
And if you want a full review, we will link it down below.
Yes. Okay. The one that I think I'm gonna put on the 10th place is Nerd Do Well by Simon Pegg. I'm guessing, do you know who Simon Pegg is?
Yes, I guess it is.
He essentially wrote an autobiography, but every other chapter is fiction.
Okay.
Of essentially himself as a really cool dude in like science fiction.
Yeah.
And it's so funny.
Yep.
It's really great.
Yep.
I listened to it on audiobook and he reads his own book and it's flippin' fantastic.
I can imagine.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Number 9. Okay, so these are two books because it's a trilogy,
Right.
but the third one hasn't come out, so the two books I sort of put them together.
Okay.
I've done that with like if I've read an entire trilogy, I put them all
one.
Yeah. And it's Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson.
Right.
And it's a thriller, I guess. Like in Swedish, you would say deckare.
Oh, like a crime novel.
Yeah,
I guess.
Sort of. Yeah. It's such a good word.
I know.
That English doesn't have.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's about a girl who is really into solving mysteries, and she goes to a special school where they will develop that.
Right.
And she does schoolwork, and yeah, it's really good. It's really interesting.
My next one is Notes of a Dirty Old Man by Charles Bukowski. This is a collection of articles in underground newspapers from I think the 60s or so. And they're really weird because Charles Bukowski is odd. He was an alcoholic most of his life. He was quite a bitter man. But if you know, it's not like I read through that in like
bits and pieces.
Yeah, so I technically started reading this in like 2018 probably. And I've dipped in and out and read an article every now and again. And some of them are like surrealist, really odd little like fiction stories, and every now and again it's like an opinion piece or something like that. But yeah, very cool.
And number 8, I have Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell, which is the sequel to Carry On, which is about Simon and Baz who have magic.
Yes.
I'm trying to keep it
not
spoil anything and still like give a feeling for the book.
Yeah.
And it has its issues.
Yeah. Of course.
But I can see past them because I really enjoy it.
It's okay.
Like, there are some communication
annoyances.
Yeah, but I'm willing to see past that. For all, like everything else.
Yeah.
I'm willing to see past that. I will forgive that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those plot things, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like,
But otherwise, the book is so sweet. And I love it.
yeah. Oh god, there's something entirely different. Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This is not a light read. This is about the last execution in Iceland.
Okay.
And it follows the woman who is going to be executed, essentially. And she goes to live with a family before it's gonna happen. It's been quite a while since I read this, because I read it in early 2019. And it's beautifully written. I think that's the thing with it. The plot is not optimistic. But it's gorgeous writing.
Next up, I have the entire trilogy.
That's such cheating, but alright.
Well, I did read them.
But that should be 3 spaces, technically.
But it took me a week.
Yeah, but it's still 3.
Yeah, I'm cheating.
I know.
Deal.
Yeah, I'm not saying.
Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor.
Laini Taylor, yeah.
And it's a fantasy. It's about, what's her name?
I've read the first chapter of the first book and gave up.
It means hope. Her name means hope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And she does work for this mysterious creature who raised her, and at the same time she's living in the human world. And then things happen.
Things, yeah. Alright. My next one is Noise of Time by Julian Barnes, which is about a composer in the Soviet Union. I have not read happy books this year.
You went full dark on the books.
Yeah, apparently. I've not even thought about this. But yeah. It's really good though.
Do you want to elaborate on the plot? Or you feel happy with?
That's essentially what it says on the back. So you should. It's one of those where you shouldn't know too much before you go into it. That's about it. That's what you need to know. And he's in the Soviet Union. He's a composer, and it's not necessarily always legal to do. Yeah. Artistic things within the Soviet Union. Technically.
For number 6, I have Aristotle and Dante Discovers the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin
Hilarious Salis.
Yeah. That was so sweet. And it's about friendship between 2 boys.
Yeah.
Who are sort of outsiders.
Yeah.
Outcasts. So they have each other. And it's so sweet.
My next one is a thriller. No Further Questions by Gillian McAllister. This is about 2 sisters. It's another one that I read quite early on in the year, so I don't have much memory of it. I tend to block out so I can just reread stuff again. Essentially, it's the question of whether she killed her sister or not, I believe. If I remember correctly.
I love the title.
No Further Questions.
That's a good title.
Yeah, it's really good.
And for number 5, I've cheated again. A Darker Shade of Magic, by V. Schwab.
Yeah.
And there are 3 different worlds, used to be 4, and there are a few people who can travel between these worlds, and then there's magic, and they're trying to keep a relationship between all the worlds by traveling and talking with the kings and queens.
Yes.
And then shit hits the fan.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happens.
Yeah. You know, typical fantasy.
It's so good though.
Yeah. It took me a while to get into it, but once I got into it, it was really
It's like impossible to put down.
Yeah.
Once you're,
Yeah.
Let's go with Girl with Curious Hair by David Foster Wallace. No clue why it's actually called that. It's a collection of short stories.
Okay.
And they have no like connection with each other. There's no like theme or anything. It's just like a collection of short stories. Essentially, I think the author is trying to like comment on like post-modernity and like irony and things. It's really good. He's quite an odd writer though. Like he is beautiful language, but he writes really strange stories.
Okay. Number 4, I have Red Rising by Pierce Brown.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Pierce Brown. Touché.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is only the first book.
Because you haven't read the other ones.
Because I haven't had time to finish the other ones.
There are 4 now, right?
There are 5.
5 even, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I've ordered the other books because I really enjoyed the first one. So they might end up on next year's list.
Yeah, who knows? That's sci-fi though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It is.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, and it's really good. It's not like, yeah, it's fine. It's really good.
Yeah.
So it's some kind of futuristic world where they live on more planets than just the Earth, and people are sorted into different colors. So there are reds, there are golds, there are pinks, and there's the main character. He is a red, and then his wife is killed, and that made me really mad. But he goes on to kind of infiltrate the gold society because it's the golds who rule all of the universe.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not
and it's really good. Yeah, it's really good. Takes a few turns. Wasn't prepared for.
Good.
But,
my next one is a classic. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. This has been on my shelf for like 6 years. It's one of those things where I was like, I know what that book is, but I've never read it. So I bought it and never ended up picking it up. Which happens a lot with me when it comes to classics. I'm like, I know what that book is, and I just buy it. It happened.
But here you are, like 6 years later.
I've done it. I bought it in Belfast, so it didn't cost me a lot.
Yeah.
If you don't know what Fahrenheit 451 is about, it's essentially a world where literature is not legal, so they burn everything. And there's a person who realizes that's probably not a good thing, and the story goes on from that. Essentially, it's it's a dystopian. It's an early dystopian. It's really good.
Okay, top 3.
Yeah.
So number 3 on my list is What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera.
Yes.
And it's about 2 boys that meet. And it's about them. And it's so sweet. It's like the sweetest book ever. It made me so happy.
Top 3. The Humans by Matt Haig. This is quite a few years old now, I think. But this is about an alien who takes over a human body and tries to infiltrate the human race. He doesn't understand anything, and they find it really funny how like humans communicate and work. It's so great because it's a look at humanity from like a place of complete outside, and you're like, oh yeah, that is weird.
Okay.
And it's really odd because it's like he takes over a professor, and he has like a job and like a family, and this alien understands nothing.
At first I went like, oh no, this is nothing for me. Now I'm like, well, this sounds funny.
Yeah, it's actually really great.
So my 2 first, they share the first spot. It's really hard to put one in front of the other. But what does it say? Number 2 for now. God's Grave and Dark Dawn by J. Christoph. And the first one is not on here because I read it last year.
Yeah.
So I read it in 2018, and then I saved God's Grave so I could read it before Dark Dawn.
Yes.
And they were so good. I know there are a lot of people who weren't that happy
With the ending?
yeah, or with the Dark Dawn in general, but I really enjoyed it.
Fair. Yeah. If you want more details on that, there's a link in the description for the review.
And it's about a girl who is orphaned, and then she's taken in by an assassin who teaches her to be an assassin so that she can get revenge for her family.
Normal. My second one is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson, which I finally got around to because that came out late 2018, and I bought it late 2018.
Well, it's not that long ago.
Well, it's been on my shelf for about a year.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's okay. And that's essentially, I would say it's probably closer to sci-fi for once with Brandon Sanderson. He's mostly fantasy, like mostly. And it's essentially about a girl whose father was a pilot and he was sort of disgraced. And she wants to be a pilot and sort of fix the family name. And stuff happens. Yay! Stuff happens.
Stuff happens. Okay, so for the first spot, I put down The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear.
Very nice.
By Patrick Rothfuss. Because I finally got around to reading them. And they were so good. They were so good. The language.
I know. It's ridiculous.
It just flows.
It's ridiculous.
Magnificent.
Yeah.
It's so great.
I know.
And it's about a boy who lives with a traveling family, so they're not called gypsies, but they sort of like that kind
lifestyle.
Yeah. So they travel around on the roads and he learns tales, and then there's things happen and magic gets involved, and
it gets really good.
Legends and
it's so good.
Yeah.
It's
It's him when he's older telling the story of what happened as to how he became a legend.
Yes. It's so good. My number one is The 12 Lives of Samuel Howley by Hannah Tinty. Now this is a book I'd never heard of until it got sent to me from Talon. A friend sent it to me for my birthday. It didn't just automatically. Well, anyways. This is a story about a girl, I think she's 12, 13 or so, and her father, who was previously within like gangs and was a criminal essentially. Her mother passed away quite a few years ago. She doesn't really remember her, and they sort of move around to feel safe because he's sort of wanted because he was a criminal.
Yeah.
And it's about how he has 12 scars with 12 stories. So it's how he survived 12. I think he was shot at every time. Actually, so it's that's why it's 12 lives.
Yeah,
because he sort of survived every time. So it's about her growing up, but it's him telling the stories and sort of it's so good.
So those were our favorite books during 2019. We would love to know what your favorite books were. Please let us know down below, or if you liked any of the books that we read, or disliked any of them. And please support our channel by subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up. And until next time, bye.
Bye.